Welcome everybody back to Friar Talk. Hope all your nights are going really well. Obviously, we're going to be talking about a frustrating team today, but also have David from Talking Yanks, Jomboy Media over here today. So he's going to give us a little bit different perspective. So I mean, every once in a while we'll bring someone else on, kind of talk about the opposing team as well. So we'll get some Yankees insight in this one as well. Kind of talk about their situation because we were talking a little bit before we started the show, and the Yankees offense kind of feels like it's kind of built in a similar way as the Padres. So David has some of the same frustrations. Now, the difference is Yankees just took 2 out of 3. They're looking a lot better so far than the Padres, but we were also talking about it as well. It's early in the season. You look up and the Padres are 3 games out of wild card spot. So, going to be talking about the struggles, going to be talking about the Yankees a little bit in this one, but David, you want to give a brief intro on kind of how you're feeling so far in this season and what you thought of this most recent series?
Well, thank you for having me. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Obviously, I'm in a pretty good spot with the whole thing. Yanks do come away with 2 wins, but they were not the prettiest. And the Padres, I know it's been not the most fun there, but like a talented team, not fun to face. So I'm happy Yankees won. I'm feeling good there. And yeah, Yanks, Padres, we're talking pre-show. There's a lot of similarities to the vibes, I think.
Yeah, obviously as Padre fans, we're not in the best mood, not in the best spot right now. I mean, yeah, the Padres have a negative record, but it's looking good in the sense that they're still only 3 games back, so it's not the worst position to be in. Yes, we do still have some holes to fill. Aaron or Austin Nola, Trent Grisham. I mean, there's some holes that need to be filled, but the Padres are always amongst the most active at the trade deadline, which unfortunately is still a ways away. So the Padres kind of just need to get some help from Manny Machado, need to get Xander Bogaerts right, and then need some more contributions from guys like Ha-Seong Kim, who didn't have a bad series. Jake Cronenworth had he went deep today, but we just need more contributions from the bottom of the lineup. Right now, it's a struggle to get any sort of production from that DH spot. Matt Carpenter and Nelson Cruz, especially lately, have not been very good. And I think maybe it's a great question to ask David something about. Obviously, Matt Carpenter was a Yankee last year. And I want to know, how did you feel during his tenure as a Yankee? Did you feel like he still had some juice left? Or did you feel like, wow, the Padres paid this guy and he might not, and he probably doesn't have juice from what you saw last year? Because it's an interesting thing. I think Matt and we talked about it when the signing happened. It's like, maybe he still got some juice, but lately, I think batting average fell under 200. Don't quite know what his OPS is, but it's been a big fall off for Matt Carpenter.
Dude, Yankees fans last year loved Matt Carpenter, at least during the regular season. Playoffs, Matt Carpenter has this amazing season, comes pretty much out of nowhere. They literally signed him after he requested his release from Rangers AAA, and he just shows up and immediately starts mashing. His 150 plate appearances were the best 150 plate appearances in baseball, including Aaron Judge, who had the best season ever. So Matt Carpenter was insane last year. Everybody really, really, really wanted him back, depending on where the price was at, I suppose, just because I don't know what you do with his glove. There's been a lot of times this year where you look up and you at least see he homered for you guys, and we're sitting there like we could really use any sort of lefty pop besides Rizzo, and that guy can play. You can shove him in Yankee Stadium right field. Stanton's out. We can DH him, get Rizzo a day off his feet, and let him play first. Like if Matt Carpenter is right, which it sounds like it hasn't been, and statistically it hasn't been fully there, but there was a fit for him on this Yankees team, so people wanted him back. I was definitely in the group that really, really liked him. Think he found something in his swing last year, and his skill set, especially for where the Yankees are at in the stadium they play in. It would have been nice to have him here, especially if he was fully a bonus piece, which I guess he would have been on this team.
Yeah, and it's been weird because I mean we were talking about it before, and he gets signed. They signed Nelson Cruz. And almost our idea going into the season is okay, one of these guys hits, you're in a good spot. But Carpenter's on a 2-year deal making 13 or 14 million over 2
his
years.
deal's weird, right?
Well, he has a player option in it. I want to say I think he's either 6 or 7 this year, and then he's 500K next year with a player option that is looking like he will 100% accept. He's gonna be like 38 or 39, and he like
Yeah, I'm trying
right
to
now
see like
he's
what the reason would be that you opt out.
yeah
He's got no
he's hitting a
reason to.
buck 74, and he has a 650 OPS. He occasionally runs into one, like you said, like he definitely does that. But like some of the at bats so far this year, like he just looked kind of lost, and like it also is weird because like it almost felt like him and Grisham like need to like fill out this like kind of lefty power bat that's like later on in the lineup. And they're buddies too, and like they both rock the mustaches, they do all that, and they are struggling. So like every Padre fan is losing their mind right now over Matt Carpenter and Trent Grisham, and it's like, dude, we just need something, man. We need one of you guys to start balling out. But he was so good in the regular season last year. I remember that. But I actually ended up mostly watching just because when I was watching Yankee games, mostly watched the playoffs. I remember it was rough sometimes. Like I remember the Astros series. I want
Yeah.
to say he like struck out 3 times in one of those games, and it was just like, oh god, like, and that's how it's looked this year. So it's good
Honestly, it
to
might
hear
have been
kind of
even
your
worse than
insight
that in the
on that.
playoffs last year. He went down, and I think just after the trade deadline, he breaks his foot, fouls it right off, and he's out the last, literally whatever the rest of the season was, last 8 weeks there, and he was one very missed because the Yankees had the worst August ever, and that he was clearly a void in that lineup that they were missing. So he came back, and he didn't really do rehab games. He didn't like come back before the playoffs really. So he was clearly rusty, and it didn't look right for the playoffs. So I like sort of give him a mental pass. If they had brought him back, I would have not held any of that against him. But yeah, there are a lot of weird circumstances. I don't know if the Yankees handled that right or how much control they or him had over whatever the situation was, but he was bad in the playoffs. So for what that's worth.
Yeah, he had a pretty solid April for the most part. I know he was like pretty damn close to 900 OPS. He was slugging. I mean, he was doing pretty good. And it looked for a second like, hey, this Cruz Carpenter thing, at least in April, it's working out. And their averages, maybe they weren't the best, but what we wanted from them coming into the season was just some home runs, some bombs, because that's what we felt we were missing throughout our lineup last year. We didn't have a lot of slug. And we thought that these two, knowing that they don't have to play any defense really, we thought they would come in and provide that slug that the Padres needed, and it was there for the first month. But ever since, it's been pretty disappointing from what I've seen. But I mean, looking at this series, it was kind of the same story for the Padres. It was not taking advantage of situations with runners in scoring position. I believe this series the Padres went 4 for 19, whereas the Yankees went like 7 for 10, something like that. So it's new day, same story for the Padres. That's been their main struggle throughout the season. Surprisingly, Rugi Odor's had himself a pretty good last 2 series, which is great for the Padres. Fernando had pretty solid series overall. I know that he didn't get many hits, but when he did get them, he took advantage of them. Juan Soto had himself a nice Friday. I don't really remember what he did yesterday, but scratch today. As far as the Padres right now, the superstar power, they're a little banged up. I guess Juan Soto had back tightness. Manny Machado, obviously, he's hurt. Xander Bogaerts had to get a cortisone shot in his wrist. He's hurt. The Padres are hurting a little bit right now, but either way, they didn't play well enough to win this series. It seems like recently, especially whenever the hitting's there, the pitching's not there. Whenever the Padres grab a lead, the bullpen blows it. And I'm not trying to be, negative. I'm as positive as can be when it comes to the Padres, but it just feels like it's been the same thing for these last few weeks, ever since we went on this big skid of just losing a bunch of series. Just inconsistency. And I don't really know what to expect for the upcoming series, but just the Yankees outplayed the Padres. Very simple. Took advantage of the opportunities they got.
Yeah, and that's something we've seen too. And even like today was interesting because today you had Cole Darvish. They both end up struggling. Now Garrett Cole's outing was a little bit weird because he had the inside of the Parker early on. I feel like that kind of messed with you, but he kind of struggled towards the end of his outing as well. And then Darvish just completely fell apart in the third, and didn't have allowed 7. So that was it was weird to see just because you're not expecting that. Like this was supposed to be like, oh yeah, you have like the pitching duel on Sunday, which I thought it was interesting in the series because Saturday's game goes to extras, and I mean the way the extras are now, it's like basically you're gonna have almost 1 to 2 innings every time. But like
Yeah.
an actual pitching duel, the Padres don't hit in that one, but the Padres hitting was actually encouraging. Like has actually been encouraging the last like week because it had been like really bad, and I think the Padres haven't been winning, so it's like people are still getting frustrated over that. But their power was on display in this series. Soto and Tatis absolutely destroyed the baseballs on Friday. They have a couple, spots where they bring runners in. Today they put up 7. I want to say they put up 5 or 6 on Cole. One of them was unearned, I think, though. Yeah, I think it was like 5. I think it was 5 earned
I
and
think it
one.
was 6. I think 6 runs, 5 of them earned off Cole.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it had been encouraging. Also, Isaac and I, we were pressing Odor, man. We were pressing Odor, and all of a sudden, Isaac, you weren't on the show last series, but all of a sudden, Odor's tearing the cover out of the baseball too, which is, I mean, shoot, dude, we've been just wanting depth so bad. So if Odor can provide that, I am more than happy to take back my words on that one. But it was just interesting, just because I hope that this is a sign that we're going to see some more power, but it has been pretty up and down.
Yeah. It's funny we bring up some Rougned Odor. He has some Yankees time, and that was this is the Rougned Odor ride you go on. We have on Talking Yanks, we discovered it's like I believe it's a Dutch phrase called Averex, centered around Rougned Odor. We gave him the Averex Award. Jomboy did, and it's the notion of that is when something positive happens, but its long-term effect is negative. And it felt like anytime Rougned Odor was on the verge of finally getting cut, or the Yankees finally would at least like stop playing him, he would then like homer in back-to-back games and like make a nice play at second. And it's like, oh, well, he just bought himself 2 more weeks. And that's, I think, more of what's happened. I remember like a week ago or so, I checked in on just looking at the Padres baseball reference page, and I saw his numbers, and I was like, wow, those are big bad. That's like even worse than the worst of Rugi that I had seen with the Yankees. And he was on the whole okay for the Yankees, actually. But yeah, that sounds like the Rougned Odor experience. Flair for the dramatic, though.
Dude, I mean, you pinpointed it. It was at one point not that long ago we were saying, why haven't the Padres DFA'd Rougned Odor? And we were like, it just makes the most sense in the world. There's got to be a bat that in free agency or something that is better than Rugi. And next thing you know, Rugi pops off and he just buys himself a bunch of time. And now all of a sudden, you go on Twitter and it's all these Padres fans talking about how good Rugi Odor is, how much they like him now. And it's like, I mean,
he's leading off game 2 in the Bronx, and
I know that was a crazy. I mean, that
was shocking.
Yeah, that was super awkward. It was an awkward lineup. It was something that Matt and I definitely looked at it like, how is Rougned Odor leading off today? And the Padres are kind of
on the Yankees end. We see that lineup that has Tatis, Soto. All these guys are supposed to be studs. Even Trent Grisham we respect. I know the numbers haven't been there for I guess the last 2 years, but and then Rougned Odor bats leadoff. Feels like Bob Melvin's pranking us and just trying to make us feel bad. and
yeah,
every time he came up, I thought he was going to homer, and he did the once, but Rugi's a trip.
He is a trip. No, he definitely is a trip. So I guess the question, and I know you don't, you're primarily Yankees, but when it comes to the Padres, obviously they're 5-6 games below 500 right now, only half a game up on the Rockies, which is horrible. I mean, I can't emphasize how bad that is. But only half a game up on the Rockies. Not in the best position right now. What are you thinking for this Padres team? Because on paper, you come in this year, they got 4 superstars. They got Cronenworth, Kim. Everyone's banking on Grisham not even bouncing back, but kind of going like, I would say breaking out again, because he had a good 2020, which of course a shortened season, and he had a hot start to 2021, But ever since July of 2021, he's been a very below average hitter. Granted, gold glove defender. He looks great in the outfield. That provides some value, but to what the Padres have right now, it doesn't provide much. So what are you thinking for this Padres team in the future?
Yeah, I mean, the Padres, look, I think they are too talented for it to stay at this level record wise. And their ownership and GM and all that have been very motivated to make additions to the team. So those are two great qualities. I think they're going to be willing to add, like you guys have said, they're only 3 games out. There's a few teams between them and a wild card spot, but you look at the 3 teams that currently have NL wildcard positions, and it's the Diamondbacks, Marlins, and Giants. I hate to be rude to those teams. I think a maximum of one of them is in a wild card spot by the end of the year. And as well as the other teams between them are Phillies. Okay, they're supposed to be good, NL champs last year. Pirates. I have a feeling the Padres will just be ahead of the Pirates one way or another. They've been terrible since their huge April. They've been just as bad in May as they were good in April. And the Mets, okay, the Mets should be in the mix. They're playing a little better right now. They're a half game out. There should be at least 2 more spots open, and I have to think the Padres will be in the mix ultimately and make the proper moves to get there. And ideally Machado comes back. I don't know how long it's going to be. I know they said it won't be necessarily soon, right? But they're a good team. So the fact that they're just staying afloat right now, eventually it's got to go.
That's kind of the thought. I mean, that's like, it's hard because I feel like if you take it and you're not watching every single Padres game and you're just like sitting there like, oh my God, I'm going crazy because the expectations are so high. And you look at the star power, you look at the talent, and it's like, what is going on? Because like the thing is also like, even forget it in terms of like where these guys are at now. Like the Padres DHs is a combo of Matt Carpenter and Nelson Cruz, who just name value are crazy. You brought up Trent Grisham a little bit ago. I mean, everyone can see how talented Trent Grisham is. The problem is that there is no consistency in him where he will be a gold glove player and he looks like he looks at times like he's a 5-6-4 player every year because of how great he is in center. But then you look into it and you go, well, yeah, he hits for a week and then he slumps for a month where you can't even bank on him getting like 2 hits in a week. That's how bad it will get at times for Trent Grisham. So, and striking out like almost every time when he's slumping. So it's so up and down. And then like right now where it's like you're getting like Grisham's in that spot, these big names haven't really produced. Manny's been hurt. It like kind of gets you in kind of a panic state. But I do think that you're 100% right. Like, yeah, there's a bunch of teams ahead of the Padres right now in the wild card spot. They're playing so far under their expectation. And you don't have Manny. And when Manny was there, Manny was playing hurt and not playing well. So maybe you hold him out an extra week to make sure that back's good and everything's good with him because he was kind of dealing through a few things. Soto, everyone was freaking about Soto throughout April when the Padres were playing better. Well, now Soto currently has, he didn't play today. Let me see. I want to say his OPS is well over 900. Yeah, it
Above
is
900.
at 932. And he is probably last week was the hottest player in the sport. He was absurd last week. So like, yeah, it's baseball. Like the Pirates are in a playoff spot right now, or they're like a game out of a playoff spot. Like that's not going to happen. So I do think it's good to not kind of press the panic button, but it's also like, I get everyone in the comment that's like losing their mind every single time. It's like, yeah, like you can keep saying you're going to break out, but like you got to do it. That's the thing. So it's an interesting thing, but I did want to ask you a quick question. So we've talked about Trent Grisham a lot, and we've kind of our idea for what this team's gonna have to do. Because you also mentioned that this is a team that needs to make some moves potentially, or if they do, they're going to go and do that. Well, it almost seems like, in our opinion, that one of Jake Cronenworth, Ha-Seong Kim, or Trent Grisham are going to have to be traded if the offense continues to struggle because they're all defensive-oriented players. Jake not as much. Jake is probably not even in the conversation because he just got extended. But Ha-Seong Kim and Trent Grisham are below to average offensive players, and they're
defense first
players
guys anyway
at marquee positions at shortstop and center. So when you're looking at specifically Trent Grisham, because I feel like a lot of Padre fans think he has no value, you would expect him to have quite a bit of value in terms of a trade, correct?
Yeah, I'd have to look in because he's still fairly young, 26. I don't know his service
I think
time situation, like how
I
many
think he
years.
has 3
Looks
years
like
of control.
so. Yeah, like you said, you'd get 2.5 years of him. He's done it in the playoffs. For the most part, he's had moments. I guess I don't know his full numbers. I don't think he has zero value, especially because as a team acquiring him, you're getting Gold Glove defense and probably about league average one way or another offense. I guess he's been enough south of that you can't bank on that, but that's kind of a similar spot to where the Yankees were. Not to bring it back to them, but it's who we were playing each other. We're sort of where we were at with Bader. We're like, okay, this dude is gonna, on the whole, give you platinum glove level defense in center field, and he'll run into the ones he runs into. He'll hit about league average. We'd only seen a couple weeks of him last year, so we weren't exactly sure how he'll get there. But every year he's about league average. So I think Trent Grisham is sort of in a similar way, just lefty version, basically. So there's definitely some value there, especially with the years of control and the ages the acquiring team would get him for. It's certainly not his peak. Like if 2 years ago you had wanted to trade him, but you wouldn't have wanted to trade him then. So that's he's an interesting cat.
No,
and I really like his vibe, by the way. Just he looks very San Diego.
No, he does seem like a cool guy in the clubhouse. But I mean, it's such a, you're right. He's weird in the sense that all Padres fans have seen him go off for 2 weeks at a time and think, hey, maybe he's back. Maybe this is what we'll get for the rest of the season. It goes 2 weeks of great, a month of just horrid, really bad plate appearances. And the defense will never go away. He's a great defender, solid base runner.
Today.
Yeah, amazing catch today. But we're not getting any production at the plate. And the Padres have the stars to get them to where they want to go, whether it be, I don't know how many wins we're looking at this year. I'm hoping 89 to 90. But they have the stars to be able to do it. But the problem is that the rest of the lineup hasn't really been supporting Fernando and Juan Soto. Of course, Manny at the time wasn't supporting them either, but it's not like we don't expect Manny to come back. Same thing with Xander Bogaerts. We expect them both to be able to produce the level that they used to or that they have before. However, we weren't getting that production from Ha-Seong Kim. We weren't getting that production from Trent Grisham, Austin Nola, Matt Carpenter, Nelson Cruz. And that's been really hurting the Padres. It's that these are the guys that are coming up with runners in scoring position all the time. It's not always Fernando. It's not always Soto. Those guys, I feel like, maybe have one guy on whenever they're up. The guys that aren't producing are the guys that have the most opportunities to help the Padres cash in. And they have not helped them cash in to this point. So, Matt brought up who we think could be trade candidates, and Trent Grisham and Ha-Seong Kim are the first two. And Jake Cronenworth is a defensive first baseman. That is something that I think needs to be emphasized. He's a defensive first baseman. When you move him over to second base, he plays pretty solid defense, but he's over a 100. He's probably like a 106 WRC plus, and he's been one of the top 5 second basemen in baseball if you go off F4. So lately, Matt and I have been talking. It was kind of a weird move to have Cronenworth shift away from the position that he's been performing so well at. He's been performing so well at second, and that's the position you paid him for. That's what I think is his production's been so good there. You paid him for the production he's put up at second base. So the guy that makes most sense to me, and maybe Matt, is Ha-Seong Kim, but not that I'm a Trent Grisham fan, but I just think Kim might have either the same or a little more value, and positionally it makes more sense. But I mean, granted, I want to get them both off. I mean, that's the thing with us Padres fans, and now we're super trade happy because AJ Preller is a madman.
They've been
But
able to do a lot of them.
yeah, he's been able to do it all. But what was I going to ask? I don't know if you've seen everything talking about. There's been some Padres fan wanting Bob Melvin. Some blame to Bob Melvin, or even Bob Melvin fired. What do you think?
It was the first time that kind of popped into my head a little bit today, just literally just because the TV showed him and I was looking at him and I knew, well, it's been like bad vibes there this year. I think so. Like on a national level, I think Bob Melvin's still very much respected and looked at as a top tier manager, and this is only his second year there, so I would assume he doesn't get fired. But I was wondering if that was like something hot in the streets, or if Padres fans are like blaming him for what's going on. Is he making bad bullpen choices? Have the lineups been weird? That stuff I can't speak to, but would be curious to hear from you guys. What's the sense over there on him?
I mean, I feel like there's starting to get like a growing number of Padres fans that want him fired. I don't think, Isaac, tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you do, and I don't think Chase or everybody does either. Like, I don't think any of us feel like that is really much of it. Like, he plays around with the lineup because the lineup isn't clicking and isn't working, and he's adjusting and doing different things and moving guys into spots where they have, like, the best career numbers at. Like, we've seen Soto be adjusted a little bit this year, and now Soto's consistently hitting third or fourth, depending on the lineup, and he's hitting way better, and that's where he's been most comfortable in his career. So, like, the stuff that he's done makes a lot of sense. Now, I thought, like, Saturday, like, I thought he made an awful decision. I tweeted about it, so people probably think I want him fired now because I was like, oh, this is an awful decision. But he pinch hit Austin Nola, who might be the worst hitter in the league right now. And, like, I get that they were trying to have him lay down a bunt. I don't care. Don't pinch hit the guy that's the worst hitter in the league to lead off extra innings. And, like, I think another reason why that's been emphasized a little bit is because they've been horrible in one-run games and extra inning games. And every time that happens, there'll be a move or something that doesn't go right. And then it's like, oh, that's the move. Like, that's the reason you lose. And I don't really think that there's been maybe like one or two other cases this season, but like that was the first time I felt like that this year. I felt like last year in the playoffs, when like there was a couple moves. There was one was starting Clev game 1 against the Dodgers, which was so stupid. But like for the most part, like I don't know. I like Bob Melvin. I think blaming Bob Melvin is just trying to have a scapegoat for early struggles in a season.
Gotta blame somebody.
Yeah, exactly. But I think blaming Preller makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
but like
that Nola pinch hit that one in hindsight, it did raise an eyebrow, especially when he comes in like 2 bunt. I was like, maybe he's just some great bunter, and I think he's pinch hitting for Sullivan anyway, if I recall. But
yeah, you're right.
It's like, all right, catcher for catcher. Or I guess if he's the better bunter of the two, sure. But yeah, that was eye opening in the moment.
Let me tell you, David, Austin Nola is not good at anything.
And I never want to pile on a guy, but like, aren't his like are stolen base numbers?
Dude,
I forget if he's really bad or really good as a catcher. And I think he's bad.
When he's
that's what I thought he was, and then I started having second thoughts.
No, man.
So he's just not helping.
No, he's not. And let me. So from our experience, the main thing people talk about when it comes to Austin Nola is, hey, he's really good at calling games behind the plate. Well, what use does he have now with PitchCom? He doesn't really do anything. So I mean, Matt and I liked Austin Nola. I feel like we gave him the longest leash because we're like, he's not the worst. Like, he's decent at best, but we'll take it for right now. Just waiting for Luis Campusano. But now it's to a point where, shoot, we can't afford to have this guy in the lineup anymore because I swear, I haven't seen anyone at the plate more with 2 guys on than Austin Nola. It feels like it's him every single time. And it's not working out. I mean, Juan Soto's on base percentage is like super, super close to Austin Nola's OPS.
He might
have passed it, dude.
He might have, and it didn't take him long either. He was only, I mean, I say only, but he was like at a 3-something on base percentage earlier this year. And within the last 2 weeks, Soto's popped off. Osanola stayed the same. But I don't really know. There's no instant solution right now for the Padres. They just kind of have to keep
No,
rolling.
I got one. I got one for you. You're okay. I'm gonna tell you right now. Isaac's gonna hate this idea.
Oh my God, dude, no.
But a former Yankee,
I don't
Gary
know.
Sanchez. I saw someone bring up in the chat. He just got cut.
Available.
I know it's gonna be a hard no from Isaac. Isaac, it cannot be worse.
No,
because
that's the thing is I agree with you. It can't be worse. I'm actually kind of on board.
And one other guy, Alfaro can become a free agent June 1st. Also, those are the two options right off the bat. The problem is, I mean, the real problem is Campusano got hurt, and he was like hitting the ball really well. I mean, I don't know what his numbers were, but like he had, I want to say he had a 4-hit game, and then 3 or 4 hit game, and he was just lining the base.
At least he was hitting it to the outfield,
yeah,
providing some value.
But I don't know. David, what do you think about Gary Sanchez? Do you think it's done? Also, how did you like Gary Sanchez in New York? I've always wanted to ask Yankee fan that.
Yankee fans are very split on Gary Sanchez. I was very, very firmly pro Gary. I honestly, at the time, I was willing to put up with any of the defense stuff. It really was just blocking was the issue. He was generally, I think, a middle of the road framer, and it was before we had Jose Trevino, and I realized what a good framer looks like, and having great defense looks like. So I have shit come off it a little bit, or feel like I was there's times when I was maybe being obtuse, but Gary has a hell of an arm, which is starting to become even more important of a skill as a catcher and being able to throw guys out. He has a cannon back there. I think he can frame all right. I don't know where the numbers have him at, right now or this year. A small sample with the Mets, obviously, but I don't know, put AAA, whatever. But I always really loved Gary. While he was a Yankee, I think he was probably my answer for who your favorite player is. At the catcher position, there aren't guys. There are very, very few guys who can be as big a threat as Gary can be, and I know that has not necessarily translated into statistics, but pitchers can't just leave him lazy pitches over the middle of the plate. He will hit them a long way, and that has to count for something. We can't really. That's one thing analytics sort of is missing is like, is a guy a threat? Like, our pitchers like nervous to make a mistake to this guy? But on the whole, okay, he's been bad for a while now, so I can't sit here and pretend he's actually good as much as my heart would love it if he was actually good. I think you guys might be a great fit for him. It's a slightly more relaxed environment than kind of anywhere he's played besides Minnesota. Although I guess there'd be a little bit of pressure on him if he's supposed to come in and be the savior, which is not great. Yeah. The Yankees was just never a good fit. He had a new catching. They had made a new catching philosophy for him every single year, and it felt like he was completely relearning how to do everything. It was let Gary be Gary, man. He's had full years where he's been really good. In some of the worst years I've seen, but at the catcher spot, I think he's worth the risk, and especially, I mean, I hadn't taken in Austin Nola's numbers, and the backups and the other guys haven't done much of anything with the bat themselves. Although Brett Sullivan's defense, electric. I enjoy watching him play defense a lot. Don't know if that's what he really does. I just noticed the highlight plays, and I saw him jump into the net this weekend. That was cool. But Gary might be worth a shot, guys. You might like him.
No, I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I couldn't agree with you more. There's a few key things you said. Great arm. Completely opposite from Austin Nola. Austin Nola, I'm telling you, he gets bullied. Like, they bully him on the base paths. That was my main concern last year during the playoffs is, all right, we're playing the Mets. They got some guys that can steal bases. Marte, Lindor, they got a few good base runners, and they were showing it. Even though we beat them, they were showing it. Then we got to go play the Dodgers, Mookie, Trey, and they were also taking some bags. So we're getting kind of abused. But I mean, it still ended up working out.
The flip side of the Gary experience is famously the blocking has been an issue, and he's done a ton of work to fix it. And I can't say I've kept up to know exactly where he's at, but as a Yankee, like it was like that dude works so hard. The narrative became that he is lazy, and that always really, really, really bothered me because I mean this dude. He signed as a 16-year-old and have worked your ass off to get to the big leagues. He every single day he's back there. He's working on the blocking. He knows it's an issue. He's not just ignoring it, but there were years where the Yankees said they didn't care about the blocking. But the flip side is come a playoff series, like, okay, a guy gets on the third and you are a little bit on the edge of your seat hoping a ball doesn't get by Gary as the biggest Gary defender there maybe ever was when he was a Yankee. That is a very real feeling, especially like that 2018 series against the Red Sox, where that team would take advantage of any mistake you would make. Like Gary, it was a trip if a guy was on third, and that was Gary's bad year too. Got a runner on third, you're terrified you're about to give up a free run, but he can peg a guy stealing second. So I don't know, good and bad in this world.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna show everyone this real quick. So here's Gary Sanchez's baseball savant page, right? From last year, not this year. You see where he's not good. Like you can tell, right?
Strikes out, not fast.
It's the hard ball. Like his ball hard. Yeah. OPSs are 600, 700 most years, and then he's had some good years when he's played a bunch, like you mentioned. Now let's go to Austin Nola. See how he's done this year. And I hate to keep bringing up Austin Nola, but like I just think your point is. I mean, what are we doing? Like I feel bad for the guy because we have almost like ripped him so much.
Yeah, that's the thing. We hate ripping guys the way we rip Austin Nola, but like something's got to be done.
Like it's not like Austin Nola.
It's bad. Those aren't good numbers, man. And Gary, I know there's an element of his savant page has always been slightly misleading because he'll hit the ball. It felt like there were times, especially in the shift era, I'd be curious to see him get an extended run without shifts, but where it felt like he was hitting the ball crazy hard and it was just exactly where a guy is standing. Like maybe he shot it right up the middle, but a guy was allowed to stand there. So I'd be curious to see him with like a real extended run without shifts. Is he going to be able to find that left side a little more or drive it down the third baseline a little more? He might not leg all that many out into stand-up doubles, but
yeah.
I didn't even think about this. He's younger than Nola.
He's younger than Sullivan too?
I think so.
Wow.
So it's like no, I'm 100% on board with that.
He's 30, man. Wow.
It feels like he's been in the league for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, he 2016. When he came up. I get that is a long time ago. I was a sophomore. I just finished my. No, I just finished my freshman year of college. He like comes up, saves the Yankees. So he was amazing that year. He was like the baby bomber. He was the one like in that group who was actually young. Like Judge debuted at 25. He was never like a crazy youngster, but Gary was like young, exciting. He catches, so that's like a premier position where like, oh, if he hits,
I remember how much hype there was around
this.
Dude, yeah, there was a lot of hype because he hit like what 40, like high 30s, low 40 home run. He had a 40
and he had as a catcher, he broke the Yankees single season record with I believe 33 homers. He homered at I think a 30 homer pace in the 60 game season, even though his numbers were terrible. Like the homers were there. Even 2018, he plays half a year. He was really hurt and bad when he played, but he homered at that rate. So at least he runs into his homers plenty. He was 2016 he was 23 and now he's 30. I had not seen Gary Sanchez as 30. So that's sort of blowing my mind a bit. But he was thought of as the best, like, pure hitter of the bunch when the Yankees got Judge and Stanton and Gary, and it was like, oh wow, they're gonna have those two. How many games are those three all gonna hit homers? And I think it happened once. How many games are they gonna get homers from all three of those guys? Well, Gary's actually the best overall hitter of them. Judge is the best hitter of them. But because Gary 2016 he hit 299. I remember that year because he came up. He didn't play that much, and on the last day of the year, he dipped below 300. I was like, well, he's not getting Rookie of the Year now. He played this short and didn't hit 300. But like he was a batting average guy too the first 2 years. It's 278 in 2017, and then the batting average has not been there since. To be kind, but I love Gary. I can't promise you he'll be good or finally fully put it together, but San Diego feels like a nice spot for him.
Yeah, and the thing is,
and there's a need.
There's a massive need. Like him coming in and not being good isn't a problem. Like that's still an upgrade. Like he doesn't have to even be good, and he's still an upgrade.
Yeah,
I'm all for it. I mean, I think it's a great idea. And like it seems like there's been like I'm also fine with them bringing back Alfaro too. Now I think there's a lot more upside in Gary Sanchez. That's the thing. And like Alfaro is also not a great defensive catcher, but they both have arms, and that's kind of catcher position almost like it almost like evolved a little bit this year with the rule changes. Like it's more important to be able to throw guys out, and it's less important to call games. Austin Noel's biggest strength was calling games. So it feels bad for him too. It's like he's having his worst offensive year ever, like far and away his worst offensive year ever. And defensively, he's become a liability. So there's no reason to not make that move. Either one of those guys. Like you have to, because like you got to start trying to do some new stuff. And Campy's not back soon. Campy's back in July too.
Yeah. No, man.
And if you believe in Campusano, then either of those guys they're perfectly suited for a backup role if they've earned it over Nola sticking around or Sullivan sticking around or whoever. That would make plenty of sense as an outsider. And I guess maybe they are waiting out to see what happens with Alfaro because the Padres are familiar with him. I could see that being a thing. Probably overall offensively, he and Gary give you the same, even though Gary's probably more of a threat. But
the only difference with Alfaro,
either of them would be great.
Yeah, the only difference with Alfaro is that Alfaro is a guaranteed walk-off, and if he comes in any time in the ninth inning or extra innings, apparently, according to last year.
That was the case. And it's funny that you bring that up because the Padres have lost a lot of close games and extra inning games this year, whereas last year that was kind of what vaulted them to those 89, 90 wins. Just the ability to be able to hang in there and squeeze out a win. Now, of course, catcher probably remains the biggest issue when it comes to the Padres. However, that doesn't mean there's not other issues. The bullpen has been pretty solid lately. We're expecting to get some guys back. There is some guys that maybe haven't been the best. And normally you wouldn't see the Padres roll out like Drew Carlton today. What's his name? Tom Cosgrove has been really good. I didn't expect him to be that good, but that kind of came with some injuries to find out that, hey, this guy's pretty good. Domingo Tapia, I don't know if he showed up at all this series or if he pitched, but normally when we see the Padres throw out a guy like that, like they're missing some bullpen guys, but nonetheless, they've been pretty good. I mean, it's very obvious. Everyone knows what the main struggles have been for the Padres, and it's the lineup. It's everyone that's not Fernando and Juan Soto. That's been the main issue. And defensively, other than Austin Nola, the Padres have been one of the best defensive teams in all of baseball. Xander Bogaerts has been phenomenal. 8 outs above average right now. One of the best shortstops in all of baseball. Complete turnaround from where he was for many years with the Red Sox up until last year. Ha-Seong Kim has been phenomenal at second base. Jake Cronenworth's great at first. Manny, of course, know what to get there. Fernando has, oh my God. It has not been talked about how amazing Fernando looks out in right field. He looks phenomenal. Trent Grisham, obviously,
That's something I was wondering about coming in is how Fernando's looked in the outfield. He wasn't really tested at any point this series, and that's something I haven't been able to check out. But he's been very good out there. It sounds like.
Dude, he's been like Matt and I had these expectations where we're like, he's probably going to struggle to start. Like he's going to look good, but there's going to be some struggles out there. And maybe only once or twice that I can think of that I really thought he struggled or that he doesn't look like an outfielder.
Looks like the first time he's doing this.
Yeah, exactly. And other than that, like I swear, phenomenal. He looks amazing.
I checked a while back and he was like 90th or like 90 something and 96th percentile and like outs above average and like maybe like his arm or his jump, and I think it was his jump and it was like something else on Baseball Savant. Like his numbers are ridiculous. He's also had like, I don't know how many outfield assists he has. He's had multiple plays where he has gunned a guy out and whoever it is tagging him missed a tag. Probably 3 times I can at least count off the top of my head. Where it's like he threw a one hopper and like I remember Cronenworth missed one where like I think it was Kike. I think he like popped up and like swim move him kind of.
Oh,
And he
yeah.
like missed him, and it was an absolute dot. And he's got wheels. Like he threw him out at second on like off a ball off the wall. Like it was, so he's been really good. Like so random. Like, well, not really random, but like so exciting, I guess, and encouraging because like early on we thought it was gonna be like, yeah, there's gonna be like you're gonna see some flash plays, and then it's gonna be like really bad sometimes. Not really been the case.
Hasn't happened yet. Yeah, I mean, looking at that Savant, he obviously has the sprint speed, which is a skill on the outside. You forget that Fernando's like one of the very fastest players in baseball, so that's nuts. And yeah, 95th percentile, it's above average, 97th in outfielder jump, 97th in arm strength. I know the sample size is still growing, but I mean, if he's capable of being like the best outfielder, and you can, we're talking a little bit about trades you can make, and is Grisham on the table? Like Fernando, I think, can go play center field if you can go get another great corner outfielder too. Those are typically a little easier to come by at the trade deadline. We'll see, but and that opens up a lot of options for the Padres.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm glad you brought that up. Everyone's bringing that up. Let's get rid of Grisham and throw Fernando out in center field. Matt and I have talked about it, and we're a little skeptical. We're thinking, hey, maybe it's not the best timing because Fernando just learned right field. He's just learned the dimensions of Petco Park. He looks phenomenal out there, but you got to do what's going to help this lineup because defensively, nothing has been an issue. They look phenomenal defensively. However, you have to put out a defensive lineup that optimizes the offensive lineup as much as it possibly could. And if that means moving Fernando to center and getting a Jock Peterson, I don't know, something like that, you got to do it. You got to do whatever it takes because you need to get some guys.
Hypothetically, Cruz and Carpenter both get hot next month. I guess that sounds unlikely. You can at least put one of them in right field. If Grisham's still on the team, you can late in a game you can shift Toddy back over to right and put Grisham back in. Like he would, assuming Grisham's receptive to the role. He's a guy whose skill set, if he is your like extra outfielder, that makes sense. Like there's options there.
Oh, it's interesting. And the thing is, you can also like, because this has become such a big part of baseball is like, oh, you can get so much value out of putting guys in different spots. Dude, if you put Fernando in center and he's going to put up those Savant numbers in center, all of a sudden, like it's so different. And like you said, if you can add a great bat and right, or, one of those guys hits you, like you were saying, basically with the corner outfield spot, your offense of your outfield just got so much better because you're not moving Fernando. You're moving him a little bit, but like you're not moving him off the team. And you're moving Grisham, who's the guy that's the biggest hole in your lineup. So it's like that's why they're gonna have to play with this team like a lot.
It at least is a choice they have, and I guess it becomes a little bit like big picture. Probably not like a conversation for during the year, but like I don't know if he's on Tatis's contract. Him being a center fielder for the next decade probably does a lot more for him than being either like. I mean, he's not going to be shortstop anymore, it seems like. And him being in right field for all of his 20s. You're not going to be in a bad spot there because he's that good. But hey, if he's going to be that good and play center field, that contract looks even better. So that's some bigger picture angles to it. But man, I did not realize how good he's been in the outfield. That's very interesting.
He's been a beast out there, man. And it's funny because we haven't even seen his full potential at the plate yet. His OPS on the season is high 700s or low 800s. For his career, he's over a 900 OPS guy. And when I don't think it's a matter of if that time comes again, because at the plate, I do think he looks good. I think he's run into some balls that, it was just right at a guy. I think he had one of those Adam balls on Friday. I think it was on Friday. He pissed on one to the third baseman, and great catch, great play. But there's been a few of those, and like I said, I don't think it's a matter of if Fernando gets back to that 900 OPS guy. I think it's a matter of when, because his at-bats are encouraging. He's got the pop. I think the only thing that's kind of affecting him right now is he's very aggressive at the plate right now. He's a little undisciplined, I would say. Swinging a lot of sliders outside of the zone, fastballs up in the zone, getting fooled on the slide. But that's kind of been his MO throughout his career, is that a lot of the times with 2 strikes, he has a hard time holding up on those sliders down and out of the zone. Same thing this year, but you're seeing it a lot more often, whereas his on-base percentage in the past few years has been a lot higher than what it is right now. The slugging is always going to be there, but the average, I mean, when he gets hot, he's insane. And the average is usually around 270, 280 for him. So I expect him to get back up there real soon and be top 10.
Yeah, it looks, looking around, poking at his savant a little bit. I mean, and he's a 19th percentile walk rate guy, and that's not what he's been over his career. So
Exactly.
that should naturally get back there a little bit. And obviously the dude hasn't played baseball in a year or year and a half or whatever at the time from when he first came back this year. So I imagine that the further we get along, the more that number is going to start creeping up a little bit, at least. So at least the walks, I imagine he'll get back to there. Guys don't typically lose their ability to draw walks, but no, I'm just very excited by what he's been and can do, and learning this outfield thing. We learned stuff.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. And also another thing too with him is he's been pressing so hard because the bottom of the order's been struggling. So Soto walks because they just don't throw Soto strikes. Tatis will go up there and he'll swing it like anything.
Yeah.
You throw him outside slider, he'll swing, and he'll connect with it. He'll connect with pitches outside the zone. I mean, what he hit a ball, it was a sinker a couple days ago that came inside insanely, probably 3 inches inside, I would say. It was that much, and he ripped it over the shortstop, and I was like, dude, what? That is, you don't see a guy taking it half of the strike zone. If he was hunching over the plate, it might have hit him, and he took this sinker there. So he's able to do that, but he's been pressing so hard. But a couple more questions, and we'll probably wrap it up here in a few. But so JDS asks, how many games will the Padres win this season? So 2-parter. 1, how many will the Padres win, and how many will the Yankees win, in your opinion? And also, the AL East looks so insane. So I want to see who you think is going to make it from the playoffs there, because I'm so interested. And then one more follow up. I'm giving you a bunch of them here, but are the Orioles going to be able to kind of run that division? Because I think that would be one of the craziest things in all of sports that I've seen of that team. They've sucked my whole life. They've been terrible.
Yeah.
And they look legit. It's crazy.
I'll start with the Orioles. I think they are actually good. I love their lineup. I love the depth they have. They grind at bats. They're very talented. Their lineup is very real. They have a couple pitching prospects that are coming that I don't think for this year it's going to be enough, even after some trades. I don't think it's enough necessarily win the division. I wouldn't rule it out, but that or to like win a playoff series, I don't think it's there quite yet. But if over the next couple of years, Grayson can establish himself, they go make a splash. That's I thought they really should have been after Rodon this offseason. They're a team that's in a position with a lot of young talent to go sign Rodon to. Probably would have required a little more than what the Yankees ended up giving him, but they're equipped to do that while your guys are young. You should invest with some veteran talent around them, especially a guy like him who could teach their other young pitchers they've got there. So I was disappointed that they really had no rumors last year. So they're really good. The AL East as a whole is really good. I meant to say some of this earlier when we were talking about where the Padres are at. You take a step back and their chances of making the playoffs are still very good. The Yankees, not all that long ago, they were in last place in their division. Granted, they were above 500, but in last place. But the division is just so talented. Somebody. One of them was going to fall off, and for a while I was hoping it wouldn't be the Yankees. It seems like it won't be, so that's huge. And it's a matter of like, are the Red Sox going to remain part of this season? They feel like the odd team out as far as just total talent, especially on the pitching end of things. Their bullpen is very real, but their starting rotation just doesn't feel like enough even after they've shown some success. So they would be my bet to be the odd ones out. The Blue Jays have had a bad May, but I believe in their talent. I'm sort of rooting against them because that team, they're not fun to play against, and they're fun to root against as a division rival because you can go really Yankee fan about it and hate those guys if you want. I'm not there, but a lot of Yankee fans hate a lot of the Blue Jays. So that division's really good. The Rays are going to be in the playoffs. The division isn't as big a lock as it looked even 2 weeks ago, but I think they will be there. I have to think the Yankees will be in there. And it's hard to imagine that at least one other team from the division doesn't sneak in. But the AL West is really, really good too. The Angels have been impressive. The Rangers feel like a juggernaut. Houston is Houston. The Mariners were a lot of people's pick to be like the second best team in the AL behind Houston. So they have 4 teams in that division that think they're going to make the playoffs. The AL East has 5 teams that think they're going to make it in their division. It's, by my math, at least 2 teams that have to be like more than that. It's a bunch of teams that are going to be very disappointed.
Yeah.
The AL East is a juggernaut, man. I'm happy the Yankees have remained part of the picture because it seemed like even when their badness was still, they were 500 at their worst. Like there's a chance the division was going to just run away from them, and they had a good May, so that's big. On the Padres, all that was a little bit of filibustering, trying to figure out how many wins I think they're gonna get. Honestly, the Padres record is worse than I thought it was. Not insurmountable. You have a fun week and you're back to 500. I still think this is a team that can win 90 games and kind of the whole way. The goal, the Dodgers are the Dodgers. So once you get off to a bad start, I think the division, you kind of stop dreaming on it. I assume. I don't know where you guys are at there, but the Dodgers are just they're the bad man. So they feel like they're going to just run away with it. I don't fully understand how they've done it so far this year because it feels like they haven't fully hit the go button, but there they are in first place. But I think this Padres team is still certainly capable of winning 90 games, and I'm not just saying that because I like you guys and I like the team. Cool colors. But no, they're talented and they have shown that they are willing to address needs and try some shit. So
yeah,
if you're taking a step back, being me, not in the muck on the Padres every day, which sometimes we got to do about our Yanks over here, but I think it'll be okay. But you'd like it to start feeling better.
Exactly. That's the thing is we want it to be okay right now. But I mean, Matt and I both kind of think it'll be okay also. we're both kind of like, I mean, I'm on board thinking 89, 90 wins. I will gladly take that. As far as the division goes, I'm not out on the division, but I'm pretty damn close. Right now, I'm thinking, all right, as far as the Padres, let's get back in that wild card and let's see what we can do again. Let's see if we can make another run. Let's see if we can beat the Dodgers again and the Mets, and let's see how far we can go. Because right now, this was our whole thing last year when we were 27 games back of the first place in the West. Dude, who cares? You just got to get there, and then anything could happen. Nonetheless, the team that was 27 games up on us lost to us. So that's the whole thing. Is we just right now I'm at a point where, all right, it's back to just getting the fourth. I don't want the sixth seed. It's back to just getting the fourth or the fifth seed and going from there. And I don't think the Padres are going to miss out. I think they're a fourth or a fifth seed team, and I think they're going to heat up soon. Like you said, you really only need like a good week or two to get back to 500. Do we really not think a team with Bogarts, Soto, Tatis, Machado at their best can't have a solid good 1 or 2 weeks? I certainly think they can. So I'm going to bank on the Padres for sure.
Sorry about that. For some reason, my new apartment, the ways that the lights are connected is the living room light is also connected to my room. So my roommate left and turned off the entire house. So yeah, I gotta get like a lamp or something in here, man, because that's not gonna work. But anyways, I agree with you guys, and I think that it's interesting because it's like right now you're 7.5 out of the division, and you're 3 games back on the wild card. If you sweep the Dodgers, now good luck because that's been impossible.
Right,
but theoretically, right, if you sweep the Dodgers, you're 4.5 games back later on if you're in the same spot. Like it's not. That's the thing with baseball is it's so long and there's so many ups and downs that it's like so hard to look into it. But David, I feel like you said it exactly what we've said. Like you reiterated the same thing. It's like like we should like the Padres should be all right.
Yeah.
But like they haven't been.
I've had to do it a lot. Like I've been thinking about it with the Yankees in the moments they are back in a postseason position right now, as I'm looking at their standings, at the AL wildcard standings. But like, yeah, literally, do the Padres control their own destiny right now? Technically, no. There's a bunch of teams between them and a wild card spot. They're a few games back, sure, but like we're early enough in the year. They play solid the rest of the way. Have some good months. Like I think they're talented enough to land where they're supposed to, with some tinkering here and there, and you get some luck on the health side of things and all of that. I thought of something else and I lost it, so that sucks. But maybe that'll come back to me. But yeah,
Maybe.
they're good, man. Like it just feels like it's gotta click, which I don't know if that makes you feel better or worse, because I think a lot of times the Yankees say stuff like that to us, and we get mad at them when they say like, "Oh, we're turning the corner," and everyone clowns on them for a week, and then you look up in a month, and they kind of were right. But
yeah.
But when you're in it, man, that's tough.
Yeah, that's the thing is we're in the dog days right now.
That's what it. I found it. It's another thing that we stumbled into on Talking Yanks over the years. Like you can, I'm sort of stealing this directly from Jake, but like you divide the season in a few different ways. If you go divide it into months, the 2017 Yankees opened our eyes to this, where they had a great April, a great September, and they were kind of 500 the middle months, and that was enough to pretty easily be in the playoffs. And we've looked, like every year, we've looked up and kind of realized that can definitely be the formula. And I don't have an awful month. That's one more good month you got to have. Like, stay afloat, have 2 like banger months, and you'll probably be okay, especially in this playoff format where like more or less be above 500 and you're in. I think the Padres will get there. There's too many teams that I honestly just don't believe in above them. Like they've been great stories so far, but I don't believe they're going to stay where they're at. So go beat those teams when you face them. Like get up for those series and take care of the business on your end, but there's plenty of time to control your own destiny.
For sure. And, like you said, I do think the Padres are better than a lot of these teams above them. And maybe in the sense they don't control their own destiny, but if they play the way they do and just let baseball be baseball, and it'll happen, because those teams aren't that good either. So I think it's all going to sort itself out.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I see some stuff about trading stuff. Of course, I don't know why people want to do this to you, but they're asking if the Yankees can beat the Astros. That feels like the Padres and the Dodgers, like the last years. I didn't know this. One of my buddies, one of my friends I made out here, he put me on to oh no, the Yankees never beat the Astros, and I watched the end of that series with him, and he's like, dude, I don't have faith. And I didn't know that was a thing, but I've come to realize that.
And how can I pick it to happen at this point outside of it just being what I want, especially in the playoffs? Yankees had a couple really nice regular season wins. I don't recall if they've actually won a series against the Astros in a while, but Garrett Cole threw that shutout 2 years ago. That was cool. Last year, no, I think they got swept in the one big series. That sucked. And the Astros, and they've been the premier organization in baseball for a couple years with some help, and that's not shots fired. They've had some help, but they've been really, really, really good. Besides that, that's what makes the years that they allegedly had some help that much more frustrating. Is they're really good anyway. But yeah, they absolutely crushed the Yankees and beat them in heartbreaking fashion every time they've squared up in the playoffs. We'll lump 2015 playoffs in there too. They beat them in the wild card game. That Yankee team didn't ever really feel like a real thing, but yeah, they just stomped them in that wild card game. That sucked. 2017, obviously some funny business that we know now, but they win all those games at home. Yankees had a couple really fun wins at the stadium. And then they kind of get stomped out. 2019, Altuve walks it off after DJ hits one of the bigger forgotten homers. That and the Rajai Davis homer are two big ones that get thrown out to history. So yeah, last year they just swept them. It never really felt like a series. That Astros team was crazy good. They win the World Series. It makes sense. Basically, no, I can't in good faith tell you the Yankees are going to beat them this year until it happens.
Yeah, no, I get it. That's kind of how weird. I think
how we are with the Dodgers.
Yeah, but then last year it was like, oh, finally, there we go.
Yeah, thank God we're not in the Astros division and have to face them a ton. A couple times a year. Last year felt like it was a collision course to face them in the playoffs, and the Yankees kind of showed up completely flat. That stunk. See some people in the chat asking if I want Preller. I think I like him, but I also am one of the more pro Cashman people on the Yankee side of things. People don't like Cashman, but the Yankees are good every year. So
no one's gonna like the Yankees GM ever. There's no chance. There's no chance.
It's rough over there. It's tough.
Yeah, they're whatever job you've got, people aren't gonna like it. I'm in. Yeah. I think I'm in a weird spot because I've always been generally pro Boone, pro Cashman. They've been good. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. But of course now I'm talking Yanks. We talk to Boone every week, and people think that's me no, I've always just generally liked Boone. I don't know what to tell you. Now I know him a little, and I think he's just a really funny person. But yeah, I'm fine with him as a manager. That's all been good. Cashman in limited interactions. I've liked him personally too, but I also think he does a mostly good job and has made some good trades. I'm in a good spot with the Yankees management, but a lot of Yankee fans will strongly disagree. So I might be in the minority in liking both.
Yeah, but it's just unless you win, until you win a championship, that's just always going to be how it happens.
For sure.
Yeah, Yanks they need another one very soon. It's been, I know it spoiled the Yankee fan stuff, but they haven't been there in almost 15 years. That's unheard of. It's also most of my life. I know I grew up and like I was born out of the dynasty. I was born in '97. I got the residual runs of that, but I don't like remember the dynasty years. I have the post dynasty Jeter years where they were still very good, and I expected them to win the World Series every year. But they only done it once when I can remember. And that was cool. That was the only time I've like seen them play in the World Series. There's like a generation of people, like all the kids, like any younger than me on Yankees Twitter, they like don't actually know like how good the Yankees are like supposed to be, and we're spoiled in that. Yeah, every year we're a playoff contender. They've never been under 500. Like I can't imagine watching that, and that's some spoiled Yankee fan stuff. But when their worst year that I can remember, I think they won 84 games. Like, Yankees have been very well run. I know it hasn't become a World Series, and they have to get over that hump. They need one soon, and I'm all over the place with them. But
I think
I like the Yankees.
I think I've seen the Padres outside of 2020.
Dude, I
have 2 winning seasons. I'm dead serious. Like I think that's all it's been.
No, you're right. No, you're right.
I mean, maybe like when we were really small, like because they were like 2006, 2007 that time. But like I was too young.
Yeah, I don't remember it that well. It was 06, 2010. They didn't even make the playoffs in 2010. Devastating
for 500.
yeah, of course. That's crazy. Like I remember like being like so sold that like Will Venable was the future. Like, yeah, that's the guy. Like and like he was one of the best players. Like Kevin Kuzmin off, Will Venable, like those are like your guy. I mean, Chase Headley was a Yankee. There you go.
Yeah, he's got some weird
like,
Yankee years.
He was the best player on the Padres for years, and he was awesome. He was like not a star.
Like at the top of a lot of leaderboards for them.
Yeah.
No, there was a year where he was a star. Like I think it was 2010.
Yeah, he was like I think top 5 MVP voting or
top 5 MVP voting.
Yeah, 2012 leads the league in ribbies like that.
Yeah,
Yankees trade for him 2 years later. In hindsight, knowing a little more analytics now, he was kind of just like a guy for the Yankees. He was pretty good when he first came over 2014. Then they gave him a weird 4-year contract that nobody thought he should have really gotten. And he was just sort of is what he is for those years, about a league average hitter, and by that point in his career, sub-league average defensive third baseman. When they got Todd Frazier in 2017, Headley kicked it over to first a good amount, and commend him for that. He was good that year. He had a big hustle double. If you guys recall, 2017 playoffs, it's like a bloop that he gets kind of caught in between first and second, and he escapes a rundown and gets the second. And that was pretty badass. Not a speedster. That's one of my That's one of the highlights I think of from that 2017 playoff run. Besides like the obvious like Didi homer, Gary Sanchez bases clearing double. That Chase Headley slide is really funny and a good.
I always loved Chase Headley because Chase Headley was the guy that would like stand there and sign everyone's autograph in the entire line and like wait whole time. Yeah, he was always like that. And he was like, and he was just good because like the team like they sucked. They sucked. Besides 2010, they had the really bad collapse with Adrian Gonzalez. Like when Adrian Gonzalez left, it was like, oh, it's over.
They won 90 games that year.
Yeah, and that was like the Matt Latos, I think, was there. I'm trying to think who else was in the rotation. The rotation was good.
That's like Latos, John Garland was all right. Clayton Richard. 200 innings out of Clayton Richard. Love that. Wade LeBlanc.
Right?
Wade LeBlanc.
Drake Bell's cousin. Luke Gregerson.
Oh, yeah, the bullpen was nasty that year.
Yeah, especially for like 2010 standards for like a nasty bullpen. Like this is The stats are really sticking out on that one. That's a
yeah.
gnarly bullpen. Oh, your
That was like
Victoria Alba.
until last year, that was the
tickles
best team
me.
I'd ever watched.
Literally. Yes, it was.
I had forgotten that the Padres finished below 500 2021. Like I remember that they were disappointing, but
They were so trash.
I feel bad now. That's just really disappointing.
Well, it's because there was no pitching. It was like there was a month where it was Vince Velasquez and Jake Arrieta. They both had they each had double-digit ERAs, and they pitched for a month.
And they both started in arguably the most important series of the year against the Cardinals.
Yeah, and it was bad. Like
yeah,
it was like
it was just bad.
Yeah, no, they were terrible. Because there were just so many injuries, and it was like, oh, they're done.
Yeah, rotation just did not stay healthy. And Darvish and Snell both underperformed overall. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
The lineup mostly held up their end. That sucks. I was rooting for them. I remember it now, but
yeah,
it's tough, man. 98 World Series rematch. I'd sign up for it.
I wanted that last year.
Yeah,
I like the Padres a lot. That would have been cool last year. I'll take it this year too. They
Fernando's back.
I have a Fernando Tatis jersey that I haven't worn in a while because of what happened, but that's like one of the few like not Yankees baseball like jerseys I have. I'm not a guy who's like you can't wear jerseys of other teams, but it's one of the only ones I've got. And like I wore it a lot in 2020.
Sick ass player, dude. He's sick.
He's really good.
Yeah, it was a good series for Fernando.
Shit on a couple balls and
the one in the Friday's game was ridiculous.
My God, that one was ridiculous. So was Soto's though.
The two players, Soto's was also absurd. I mean, Soto's probably up there now after that because I went to Friday's game. Soto's probably up there after that home run on Friday. But the two guys that I've just seen absolutely destroy the baseball, like significantly harder hits and louder pop and everything, just sounds so nice, are Fernando and Aaron Judge. Like those are the two guys.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was 2019. I went on like a 4th of July to Yankees game. Like I was just like traveling out here, and Judge hit a ball that maybe didn't go. It felt like it went like not more than like 10, 15 feet over the wall, but he hit it so hard and it left the park in like a second and a half. It was so fast. I've never seen a baseball hit that hard. It's ridiculous.
With him and Stanton, it's different. The ball just feels a little like you can catch if you're going to a game where the Yankees are on the road, because you can't watch their BP at Yankee Stadium. But if you're on the road and the Yankees are in town, go early for BP and look at what Judge and Stanton do. They put on a show. The ball travel's different. Gary was kind of in that group too, which if you guys get Gary, check that out.
For sure.
Yeah, I think we're all
those
for
balls
it.
go crazy. It's worth a shot, right?
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't got anything else to say.
I think we had a long talk. This is one of our longer streams we've done in a while, but it was awesome, David. Everyone listening, the clear message: sign Gary Sanchez like ASAP, right? Tomorrow morning, let's get it because it's an off day. Like it is time for a change. I like that you're a big Gary Sanchez guy. I had no idea on that. Like that's awesome because also the fact that
I have a couple like tough pictures now of like some like obnoxious pro Gary shirts that like all right, I don't like when those like get tweeted at me again, but I went and like printed my own t-shirt like Gary Sanchez is an adequate defensive catcher or whatever the shirt said. Which I still kind of do believe that in my heart, but I'm not willing to like die on that hill anymore. But
let me put it this way. The fact that Isaac was able to say that he is down to sign Gary Sanchez, that you were able to convince him of that means that you have a very strong point.
It's true. It's true. No, it's true.
Isaac is maybe one of the biggest Gary Sanchez haters you probably ever talked to. I'm dead serious right now.
But I also hate Austin Nola, so
look, just seeing I didn't realize the situation was where it was at. It's not gonna be worse. Like,
I mean, watching Nola's a lot worse than just looking at the numbers, because I swear a 500 OPS feels like really high for Austin Nola if that's where he's at right now.
Yeah. All right, guys.
well, look, Gary's
I think
3
that's probably
games
gonna
this
do
year
it.
weren't great. So
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Have a great night. David, thanks again for coming on, man. A lot of fun. Great series. I don't think I mean, hopefully, I don't know, hopefully they meet up because I want to go to more Padres games out here. But it was a fun series. I was super happy to go Friday night. I saw a lot of Padres fans traveled out to New York. If you're going to travel out to a series, like if you're going to go on a road trip, I think this is the one to do. Definitely. And don't come to New York for a Mets game. I'm sorry. I don't want to press the Mets, but the Yankee Stadium experience is just so much better. I don't know how most people in New York feel, but that's how I felt. And I've went to more Mets games than Yankee games, probably just because Padres play them more.
Padres coming to
But
town every year.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's interesting to hear. I think a lot of people like the experience at a Met game, although the commute there is not fun.
no.
I don't like getting myself to Citi Field the couple times I've done it. Yankee Stadium's easy.
Yeah. Hop on the 4. But yeah. All right. Thank you guys all for listening. So we'll be back. I don't know if we're gonna have anything out Monday, but we'll be back probably Tuesday. We'll have a couple segments out, and then we'll recap this next series, do our regular thing. But last week we weren't really able to get a couple other segments than we normally do, but should be back on that this week. So we'll have some stuff out then. But thank you all for listening. Thanks again, David. It was an amazing time. And it was a fun series as well. A lot of scoring outside of Saturday's game, but Saturday's game you got extra baseball.
Both teams
happy
didn't
there.
score, so that works.
Yeah, exactly. So it went well. But yeah, thank you all for listening though. Have a great night, and we'll talk to y'all soon.
Thanks, guys.